The biggest lie we've been told, well, one of the very biggest lies, and it is a big one, is really that you can't have work life balance. That the idea of work life balance is a myth, that it is just something that we talk about and say that we're working toward with no intention ever of actually getting there or believing that it's even possible, right? Work life balance, the struggle for it is almost in a way, it's kind of like our matrix. That we have accepted this situation where we are working ourselves to the bone all the time. And we're seeing it right now. Like, and in this time, when, I for sure thought, and I think many people thought that this would be a time many people would have extra time on their hands. But instead, it is a time when it seems everybody is incredibly busy and working, in many cases, more than they were before. Studies have shown, we've said this before, that Americans are working on average 3 hours a day more. And everybody I talk to every day, this is the story, is that I'm working so much more. So how are we in this situation, and work-life balance has gotten even worse, right? The thing is that this is not as much a problem in some other countries and like civilized countries like ours. And there are other people who do it a different way, and there are many things about this situation that are unique to our country and unique to sort of our specific way of life here in America. And it is actually possible to break out of this, to unplug from this matrix. That work-life balance is indeed achievable. So, I'm Owen. Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. As always, I hope that you'll subscribe on YouTube. Just hit the button below this video. And then, as always, I would love for you to, if you get your free guide to go from scarcity to abundance, you can do that at owenjward.com. It will help you if you are trying to get connected with your passion, trying to move forward, trying to find something, find a way to get even work-life balance in this life. I just put a link in the chat for you so you can do that. So I did this exchange program for a summer where I lived in Spain. I lived in Spain with this other man my age, this boy my age, who had lived with us for, I guess, the year before for a summer. So now I was going over here the next summer. And in Spain, as in many other countries as well, but their workday does not look at all like ours does here. Things get started, in the morning, and then around lunchtime, everything stops. Everything stops. They have the largest meal of the day at lunch. It's like what we do for dinner. And then everybody sleeps it off for a couple hours, right? Or a few hours. Everything just stops and relaxes. It'll sort of almost more close. And then after, a few hours, people go back to work. And then work a little later into the night, and things go later into the night. But, this pattern, it seems a little ridiculous here. Like, to think that if everybody would have 3 hours off for lunch here in America any day, you'd be like, well, that's so strange. That would never work. That could never happen. How could anybody ever make any money that way? But yet people do all the time in other countries where that happens to be the norm. So why do you take a big nap after that, right? Because it matches the biorhythms of our bodies, right? After a big meal, taking some rest, digest, what have you, that makes a lot more sense. How many times do you go back to lunch, go back to work after lunch, and you're just completely still trash? Like, you get that food coma, you're not really that productive anyway. So, a different schedule more closely matches how our bodies work. And then also eating the biggest meal of the day in the middle of the day instead of right at night before we go to bed, there's something to that too. So I took a look at all of this and lived in it for, a short period of time, but lived in it and started to feel the rhythm. I was like, oh, okay. Taking that rest in the middle of the day actually is really beneficial, and something that I realize that in the way that we normally operate here in the United States, it can really take its toll. It can really grate and really push me through that time when normally after a meal, like after lunch, I might be taking a rest and then work a little bit later. So we don't have to be overwhelmed to survive. We don't. That it's just not. It's just not true. And you look at any system in nature, right, can survive just fine without overwhelm. So we don't have to do it. We don't have to be stressed and completely panicked in order to do what we need to do to live. There are many other places in our world, in our civilized world, that are able to do it without the kind of mentality that we have around it. And then on top of all of this, we are probably some of the first to know that stress is so dangerous. Stress kills us. Stress is a killer. There are studies that show this. It releases toxins into the body. It is a state of being that is intended for extremely short periods of time in our evolutionary biology. And we apply it to ourselves over and over and over, endlessly. So we know that stress kills us. And at the same time, knowing we don't have to be overwhelmed in order to survive. So how the heck did we get into this situation where we are working ourselves to the bone, even in some kind of quarantine? And I'm doing it too. I have been basically sitting at this desk for hours. Many hours, right? And I find that I'm busier now than I was before, and that seems to be the case. So how has this all happened, right? So this imbalance, why we want work-life balance, implies that we don't have balance. We need balance. Where does it come from, the imbalance? And it comes from when we give our power away. Whenever I give my power away, that's usually when I find that I become unbalanced. I find that something is lacking in my life, and it's usually, I find that I don't then have the control to get it back. I have given my power away to somebody. So if you're looking for work-life balance and you don't have it, the very first thing to do is take back control of your schedule. Schedule out your day. Plan in some way, make an intention as to here's how I'm going to spend my day. Now, if you have a job and you're working for somebody else, of course, you are going to be given tasks that are not yours. It's not, I would like to do my boss's expense reports or what have you today, right? Probably not. But you want to do the job so that you can sustain yourself. So schedule in the time that you're going to spend doing this job. It is very easy to, this is a trap that I used to fall into more, and I still fall into it sometimes, and I try very hard not to do it. But it's easy to allow other people to control your schedule to avoid conflict. Well, I'll speak for me. It's easy sometimes for me to allow other people to control my schedule to avoid conflict. And that is a slippery slope. Sometimes I'll find that I feel I don't have control over my schedule any longer, and I get really angry. I start playing victim, and I don't move forward, and it's not good for me, it's not good for anybody. So take back control of your schedule, plan out your day, be the one in charge of how you create your day, okay? Second is know that you have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove. A lot of work-life imbalance issues come from, for me, sometimes when I feel unbalanced, it's because I'm working so hard to impress somebody else, because I'm trying to protect myself, or I'm trying to get forward, move forward, something like that. I'll do things that I would normally not do. I'll do extra stuff that I wouldn't do normally because I want to justify my existence, say why I'm here. And I know a lot of people right now are saying that they're working harder, even on just a psychological level in some studies, but people are saying that they're working harder now because they are worried about the economy, that jobs are going away, and what would happen if I lost my job. So I'm going to work so hard right now to prove that I'm worth it. And the fact of the matter is, you have nothing to prove. If you're doing what you need to do, and you're doing the best, and you are above and beyond, you don't have anything to prove. Make your own plan. Sort of like scheduling out your day in general, this is making out your own plan for where you want to go. Where are you going even, just this year? I know that we're all sort of stuck at home, and very likely for the foreseeable future, none of us are going very far, even when things start to open up again. Probably not hopping on a jet to Europe anytime soon, unless you are in Europe, which, I don't know, maybe you are. But But plan, you can still figure out where you want to be. Like, who do you want to be this time next month, this time next year? When all of this is over, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? You can make a plan and you can see how everything else in your life fits into that. And then it's so much easier. I find for me, when I don't have a plan, that's when I'm scrambling to do stuff. I find what scrambling to do stuff is, again, to justify why I'm here and what I'm doing. And it's because I really don't have another plan. I don't know where I'm going. So making a plan is amazing to help with finding work-life balance. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to change the world, but something very, that you want to accomplish in a month, a year, what have you. And hold this all together with the most important piece of this: value yourself. Value yourself enough to know that you are allowed to make a plan for yourself. You do deserve to have a plan for yourself. You do deserve and are permitted to control your schedule during the day. You get to pick how you spend your time. You really, really do. And when you believe in yourself like this, when you value yourself, like, you know that you have nothing to prove. You know that you are who you are, and you are doing your very best. You are doing what you are doing. And if you're not doing your best, then ask why are you doing this thing at all. So anyway, I hope that this has helped. If you want some more assistance on this and in terms of getting in touch with your passion, then I highly recommend you pop on over to owenjward.com. Download your free guide to go from scarcity to abundance. I hope you find your work-life balance. Hit me up with any questions. Live here all the time, so always feel free to pop in. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I will talk to you tomorrow.